Welcome back to another episode of Beer, Bacon, and Bros. We're here tonight, as I don't know if you guys know, but I know we know as Braves fans that it's the end of an era in Atlanta. Freddie Freeman is, it's not official yet, but unofficially is pretty much out of Atlanta. He's going to go somewhere else. So we're going to discuss where we think he's going to land, where some potential landing spots possibly are. I mean, obviously one of the top choices is LA, the Dodgers. Yeah. They're the ones who have offered him the most money.
So far.
The other big names that I've been seeing have been Boston, which I would love to see him in Boston, and Toronto is the other big one.
Tampa and someone else got in on it. Yankees are back in on it as well.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think the Yankees are going to go after him. I really think it's going to come down to Boston and LA.
I think it's going to come down to Boston and LA, and I think honestly Boston has the advantage because he hasn't already gone to LA. Because he's a hometown kid. He was born and raised there. Obviously, he came to Atlanta because we drafted him. He's mentioned about he wouldn't mind getting out there to play baseball. The Braves have made it very clear that we're out of the running now by going and getting Matt Olson. We just aren't going to be able to give Freddie the money and justify it for how old he is and stuff like that. But I think Boston has a true shot just because I feel like from some little things I've been seeing that he actually might be getting offended getting his feelings hurt that LA hasn't thrown him the money, because as we were talking about, me and Keith in the group chat, that the amount of money that LA offered him would be equivalent. It was equivalent to what Atlanta was offering. It's just it was more because it would cover the taxes and the cost of living to live out in LA.
Yeah, right.
And buy new property and moving all that. It's essentially the same amount of money. You're just moving cities.
Well, the second offer that came out that I saw was like 239, so it was a little higher than what it was originally projected. But when the original projections came out, I think it was like, what, 220, 221? Yeah. Which, when you break it down, would have been exactly the same amount of money that he would have made in Atlanta. Yeah. I mean, because when you look at the taxes and how much it actually costs to live in LA, I mean, it would have been basically the exact same contract.
And I kind of think he might have some sort of hesitation to go out to LA, because he may not want to have to play Atlanta as much as he'd have to.
They're older and they're in tax hell. So
that's what
they're going to be in sour cap hell.
They're not in a win now mode because they're having to recover and move stuff around.
They're still in a win now mode, but
there's a lot more baggage in LA.
Well, I agree. I think if they go to Boston, because I think you're getting ready to say the exact same thing I'm going to say. Boston is a much younger team.
Yep.
They just got Jackie Bradley Jr. back.
They got Jackie Bradley Jr. back, but I mean, you think about it. You've got one of the top three shortstops in Xander Bogaerts, one of the top three third basemen, Rafael Devers.
A hell of a good designated hitter.
A great designated hitter. Verdugo is a fantastic outfielder.
Yep.
Jackie Bradley is great defensively.
Yeah, Christian Arroyo can be a good hitter at second base.
He can be a good hitter, and
they really love Enrique Hernandez.
Kike Hernandez did fantastic for them last year. Yeah, I mean he did a great job coming over from LA.
Yeah,
so and he get to play in Fenway.
And he get to play in Fenway, which is one of the most iconic places.
Which I mean, Freddie would rake in Fenway.
Oh, absolutely, the pesky pole. He would absolutely rake out there.
Not just even that. Think about how many balls he already hits deep into left field with just that take it the other way swing. I mean, he would bat probably 340 in Fenway.
Just line drive it off the wall out there.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's all he'd have to do. Pull it to right and just, I mean, he'd absolutely kill it.
Pretty much just guaranteed to move the runners.
Yeah.
Right.
He's probably going to get less money from the Red Sox because they're not going to tie themselves into a cap hell. They already have a lot of money in J.D. Martinez, Rafael Devers, Alex Verdugo, Xander Bogaerts, and of course Chris Sale. They've kind of been trying to, from what Boston's been doing this offseason, is trying to build their pitching staff up a little bit. They kind of made them a little more competitive in that sense. But man, Landon Freddie would be huge for them. I think.
I mean, also taking less money in Boston's not going to be a bad thing because it's just not nearly as expensive to live out in Boston and to move up there.
If he goes to Boston, he's going to be starting at first base
without a question about it.
It's his job if he goes to Boston.
Yeah. I think the Yankees would make a little bit of an interesting thing. He'd be back with Josh Donaldson now after that trade. And so, they're starting to kind of build it up. I think the Yankees, if you're the Yankees, you're probably, honestly, as a Yankees fan, hoping that they spend less money to get Rizzo back than spend all the money to get Freddie to come
right, because
then the cheaper option.
Because then you can do what we're doing and use that money to go get other talent to help your team.
Yeah, and then,
I mean, he'd be good in Toronto too. Toronto's got a great young team.
The Toronto thing would be really interesting because they have kind of built their pitching staff up, and they just signed
the guy out of Seattle.
Yeah. And,
Cayuchi or whatever.
Yeah. And so putting George Springer with Bo Bichette, Vlad Jr., Freeman, I mean, that would be a hell of a lineup, at least in the top 4 or 5 spots with that team. So,
well, and that frees up putting Vlad as your DH too.
Yeah, yeah. I saw some video. They were working out Vlad at third base.
Where would you put? They got Kevin. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what all that was going on.
I don't think
Tampa was kind of the final option.
I don't think Tampa's
in it. Yeah.
Tampa's not in it. It's
basically everyone on the East Coast wants.
I'm kind of interested. I hope more details come out about how, negotiations. I don't want to say it fell apart, but just for lack of how negotiations didn't go the way we want to with AA and Freddie and all of them. Just I want the details to come out that. As fans, we're sitting here listening, we're reading stuff, and then all of a sudden we get Matt Olson. It's just you're kind of blindsided.
And then he's signed an 8-year extension.
Yeah, and even Christian Pache was caught off guard by that too. Like he went on Twitter and was like, just found out this. Like I'm in tears, stuff. Like I'm wanting to, hopefully find out more details about how it went down. Like Freddie it went from Chipper Jones being the face of the team to Freddie, straight up to Freddie Freeman. Now you got either Acuna, Austin Riley, or Ozzie to come in and be the face. And then Freddie Freeman lasted that as a Brave. The home run in Game 6 to tie it up, I believe, was tied up, wasn't it?
No, we were
already ahead.
He just put us ahead of the call.
And then his last actual play was the final out to win the World Series.
Yeah. That's a hell of a way to go out.
Yeah, I love the kid. I really wish he could have stayed because he's the face of the franchise. He is Atlanta, but. I think the time had come.
I think there's two things to. This is hard for me.
It's hard for all of us.
Chipper Jones, was my brother's favorite player and was everybody's kind of favorite player for a long time.
He was my favorite player growing up.
But dude, I loved Javi before I loved Chipper. But man, I love Freddie.
We all love Freddie.
Like I'll never forget his first game against the Phillies. He literally was digging balls out of first base. And I'm like, that is my dude. As a first baseman, that is my dude. But. I think there's two things. I agree with the way that Atlanta went about this. Whether I think Atlanta gave him plenty of time before the CBA closed to make this deal happen, and then another week after the CBA opened back up to make this happen. And Atlanta said, we're not going to get screwed by this because we have to get either Matt Olson or we have to get Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah.
And they felt like going and getting Matt Olson, a kid from Georgia, from Atlanta area, made the right move and made the right sense. But I back Freddie with this because he put his foot in the ground and said, I want more money to come back to Atlanta, or I want this money to come back to Atlanta. I'm making a business decision for him and his family and his life because you only get to be a professional athlete for so long, and he's going to go make his money now wherever he goes, and I'm cool with that.
I don't know if it was so much of the money. I think it was he wanted that 6 year. He wanted that security. Atlanta was willing to give him the 5 years.
No, they gave him a 6 year, 180.
Well, after the fact, but original before the CBA closed, they went into whatever lockout thing we did. They wanted to give him 5 years. That was the initial offer. Yep. That's what it was at up until the end, up until the last 2 or 3 days. It was 5 years. We'll give you what you want. Yep. We'll give you the money that you want. But we want over 5 years versus 6.
Yep. And that's kind of hard because Freddie has to recognize that he is up there in age.
To be paying someone $30 million at 38 years old, I would not think is a great decision.
It's like LA's kind of also, they're kind of like trying to sweeten the pot, but not really because they don't lose anything if Freddie doesn't come. Yeah. So they're not really trying to entice him so much that because I think they also know once they do sign him, they're going to have a major restructuring that they're going to have to go through.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't surprise me if he ever to Bellinger.
He'll end up in LA, but it'll be weird because it's going to be a lot less playing time, or once you base it off the cost of living like that, he's going to be making less money. I think it's going to be some weird situation like that, but he's going to be in LA.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know in the comments where you think Freddie Freeman is going. If you're a Braves fan, obviously let us know if you're broken heart or if you're happy for him and the team. And as always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe.